Hey, it's Adam. Thanks for checking out episode 4 of the still newish Wabi-sabi, a show that ponders about life through the lens of impermanence and imperfection. Today I bring you a deep discussion with my dear friend Justin Polgar of Yes Cacao. Yes Cacao is a wild harvested botanical chocolate company on a mission to change the way that people consume chocolate and reminding everyone to make a wish and take a bite. I've known Justin for a decade, and I've watched him take Yes Cacao from pretty much a spark of an idea to a successful Kickstarter-backed startup, all the way to seeing bars stocked on shelves as far away as in Boston. He's the minister of Yes, a brand new dad, a husband, and an entrepreneur. We spoke of parenthood, business, branding, and self-reflection while in the middle of Expo West 2019. For those that don't know, Expo West is the largest natural products trade show in North America, most likely the world. We recorded this interview at his booth, surrounded by about 80,000 Expo participants and upwards of 4,000 businesses, small to large, down at the Anaheim Convention Center. So please forgive the sound quality and the background soundtrack. And one more thing, I've just set up a Patreon page for the podcast instead of pursuing sponsorships. So listeners like you can support today at patreon.com/wabi-sabi podcast. That's WABISABIPODCAST. Thanks.
Expo West is the largest natural products expo, definitely in North America. I don't know in the world. It's kind of, we're told that it is. It's about 75,000, 80,000 people.
Right, and it's a trade show, so it's not open to the public.
True.
It's just businesses showing off their brands to other businesses.
You just think about it like this. It's as if you're walking down the aisles of your favorite grocery store.
Yeah.
Every product has a 10-foot by 10-foot booth at a minimum. Some of them have like 30 by 50 booths.
It's like a market the size of a convention center.
Yeah, and overflowing. 3 buildings in a convention center.
Wow. And there's also an Expo East, correct?
There is. It's much more intimate. Everyone that I've talked to that says, oh, I've only been to Expo East, which is in Baltimore, they come here, they're like, whoa, this is huge. So I haven't been to Expo East, not even to walk the floor. So my sense is that it's probably like, the floor that we're on now is, 11 aisles that probably have about 20 or 30 companies each
per aisle, yeah.
And we're the bottom floor, and then there's a whole replica of this on the top
upstairs.
floor.
Wow. And that's just this hall.
That's this hall.
And there are like 8 to 11 halls.
This is the little hall.
Yeah.
And then there's in the Hilton Hotel, which is just next door to the convention center. They have the hot new products. So I mean, just to give an idea, it's like it's like Burning Man with the theme of natural food, but also beauty products, foods like there's Bronner's does a whole thing here. There's vitamin supplement. There's even people that have different machines for packaging. There's like a whole area for that. And it's a lot of new brands. And one of the things that I notice is that I love watching people walk by the booth and do double or triple takes, and then turn around and come and jump into the Yes. I love that. I
like how we're also a podcast spectacle for some people who are walking by taking photos. Like, oh, look at these guys. They're doing something with microphones and headphones.
Feels legit. It feels legit. Oh, by the way, my name is Justin. I'm the founder and the co-founder of Yes Cacao. We're a wild harvested botanical chocolate company, meaning that we take super herbs and adaptogens and things that are meant to go in our body to make us feel amazing, healthy, vibrant, vital, relaxed, all the things that you want to feel. And we sneak those into chocolate. It's kind of like a pill pocket, where if I wanted people to eat things that were good for them, but they won't always eat things that don't taste amazing. So if I sneak them into chocolate, then all of a sudden people are eating things, they're taking care of themselves while being in pleasure. And what I like to say is we're on a mission to change the way that people consume chocolate and have them start using it as a delivery system.
Because I've heard you put so eloquently many times in the past, you say that chocolate is an ideal delivery vehicle for herbs or medicines or pretty much anything.
It's one of the OG delivery systems.
Yeah.
You know, it's chocolate's a vasodilator, meaning that it opens our blood vessels. You know, actually, as a precursor to that, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, but what about the caffeine?" You know, people are a little caffeine phobic.
Right.
Chocolate doesn't have hardly any caffeine, but it does have theobromine, which is a relative of caffeine, whereas caffeine stimulates the mind and the nervous system, which is part of why people like that stimulation. It makes you feel like you're on top of it, kind of. Chocolate having theobromine stimulates the heart and the circulatory system. It really gets your blood system flowing, and so that's really what's delivering the herbs, teas, flowers, adaptogens throughout the body and bringing them where they need to go. You know, if your circulation, I was talking about this in a podcast last week, if your circulation is going to your fingertips, that's a good thing. These are your extremities. If your fingertips are cold, you're not getting that circulation, odds are your brain is probably not getting that circulation. Maybe your gut is slow in its circulation, and so that all really affects the way that we're able to metabolize things, digest things, feel alive, actually get rest when we're sleeping. You know, so there's a science to it, but most of all, it tastes good. It tastes really good. It's like kind of one of the motivating factors there.
It's interesting how the history of chocolate, if you think about it as a product or as something that's been, you know, proliferated and conquered by the likes of, you know, your share of Hershey's and Mars and all these large conglomerates, who on the one hand, they're spreading the awareness of chocolate, but on the other hand, they're adulterating chocolate, because what they're actually selling, what ends up in the hands of consumers, you might not actually be able to call chocolate.
In some cases, you can call it chocolatey.
Chocolatey, right.
Yeah, and in some cases, there's wax and other preservatives and, you know, just things that are being delivered in the chocolate that are less than optimal for your system.
Which kind of plays into the sort of mass hallucination. I'm putting that word lightly, by the way, but the mass hallucination of chocolate is bad for me, so I shouldn't have it, but I want it. So it's an interesting, yeah.
It's not. It's still taboo. Even when I talk to people who are like, well, dark chocolate is good for you. I know, but there's this kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, I get to eat something that. There was a study, or actually a lot of studies, that are telling me that dark chocolate is safe to eat, and so I get to still be naughty or get away with something. And just as context, I ate a lot of chocolate, and I eat about a half a pound of cacao a day in the form of our Yes Cacao bars, but also in cacao beans and cacao paste and smoothies and elixirs, just putting chocolate into most of the things that I'm eating. I don't know if most of it, but I'm consuming about a half a pound a day, and that equates to roughly 150 pounds
a year,
which is almost my body weight. It's like my ode to cacao. It's my offering, where if it's food of the gods, Theobroma cacao translates to food of the gods, and if you are what you eat, I'm doing a little leapfrog here, but then I'm putting that into my body at the tune of the weight of my body annually. I think that there's some magic that's bound to happen. There's some, there's an invitation for the download.
I think it's a big testament to a food product to have its founder and its personnel's consuming and enjoying copious amounts of it. I don't know if, the CEO of...
It's not every food company or beverage company that are making the product in such a way that they feel that they consume it.
Right, that they celebrate it also personally, or that they would enjoy it or imbibe it or eat it.
I mean, a lot of artisan and craft products, I'll definitely nod to it. And that movement as it continues to pick up speed is really beautiful to see, and just to witness the passion in the entrepreneur's eyes and the continual education. I mean, that I think really, I see that translating to the customer's enjoyment and also more of a holistic circle of commerce. In that way, it's healing commerce, which is what's needed. Amazon can do almost everything, but maybe not heal commerce, in a sustainable way. And it's definitely made it efficient. But there is some concern about the pace at which we are making things convenient.
Right.
And can we keep up with that in an organic way, not organic like the certification, but in that natural pace that the human being is optimized.
Accustomed to or optimized to. Exactly.
You ever get that feeling when you're in a car or in an airplane of like, wow, I don't think my human system was necessarily designed or knew that it would go this fast across.
I feel like
the land.
every flight, or at least every like cross ocean, like an oceanic flight, I get that feeling. And then you also are experiencing it on the arrival end, through jet lag and...
When's the rest of me going to get here?
Exactly, and it takes time. It may take days.
I was listening to another podcast a couple days ago, and I would do a shout out for whatever podcast that was, but I listened to I consumed so much content through my ears, and maybe it will come to me. There was a note or a conversation about how there was just like the Earth was believed to be flat, and there was an edge to it that you didn't want to go over the edge. There was a theory, I think in the earlier 1900s, that if the human body went faster than, I don't know, something like 40 miles an hour, that it might explode.
Right.
Which is laughable now, but I know that we have limitations that we kind of assume, and kind of even this space travel and these types of pushing the limits of what our physicality knows as normal now. Even eating 150 pounds of chocolate a year kind of thing. It's like, well, if you do that, you're going to be really unhealthy, and you're going to gain a lot of weight, and your heart and the fat and blah, 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 blah. And I think it takes some frontiering to push the envelope of that.
Sure. And I don't even know if, as you put it, 150 pounds of chocolate, if that sounds really extreme to me, because in my awareness, I know that you say chocolate, but it's forms of chocolate. There's cacao, there's the powder itself, there's cacao butter, there's the Yes Cacao bars that you're making. There's different modes there that you're pooling all together. I'm really curious, actually, to kind of go into this one unique subject, which is, Yes Cacao, as I've been in the periphery, I've known it for nearly 10 years.
Indeed.
Right? I think 2010, I believe, or maybe 29, maybe 2009, or definitely 2010 was, from what I remember, to be the beginning of Yes Cacao. And what can you say about this this point that you're in right now, you know, like here you are in 2019 at Expo West, moving forward, you know, like, or looking back, you know, with where you are now, it's like, how do you take stock in the journey that you've been on with this company?
I've been reflecting on that exact, the invitation for an answer in this. I've been reflecting on this exactly recently, and you know, to get where we're going, and I'm a dreamer in a lot of ways, and so I have these very large goals and dreams that may take a very long time to realize, and a lot of it is just about celebrating the little strides, the little victories, and a lot of it is about giving ourselves pats on the back for doing a rebrand, for getting into a new account, for making a connection, for having an article written, for doing a podcast. You know, so that kind of a reflection gives me this kind of momentum. If I have my eyes on the prize and this big goal that I have for changing the way that people consume chocolate, if I don't anchor the milestones along the way, I think I feel lost. And I've gone through periods of that where I'm like, how am I going to get there? It's a little bit like a testing of faith in a way. So, you know, recently I've been really trying to anchor in the little victories that we have, and that makes me feel more proud of where we have come, because now I can look back and remember when I was wrapping packages in these little foil squares and going to farmers markets and having people taste spoonfuls of this kind of, you know, before tempering chocolate was part of my awareness. You know, I was about 10, 11 years ago. And I think in order to have momentum in any period of timing, we have to acknowledge what we have accomplished and stand on those stairs, you know, build those stepping stones so that we can have a better view in a way.
Is that part of your personal ethos where you sort of balance momentum or mission statements or goals with marking milestones, as you put it?
I feel like that's more of a recent awareness for me. Just having a desire to be in the present moment and trying not to judge where I've been or where I can go or like what I think I can do. You know, part of my Yesology program and study of what it's like to say yes and kind of measure that. It's definitely part of the ethos to reframe wherever I am to be of benefit along the path, because this is a very relative reality that we're experiencing, and when I say something is true, you know, there's a difference between what's true and what's truth, and very much so I can reframe something to be beneficial for my present state, and it's as true as something that reframes it to be more struggle-filled or more self-deprecating, and it's just about what pattern I want to practice and pattern into my consciousness.
Well, speaking of patterning, you've recently been inducted into the lifelong pattern of becoming a parent.
Yes.
I have like 47 questions that come with that statement. It's like, how do you even begin as you know, with Yes Cacao being a family business, if I could put it like that?
Yeah, I would say it's a family business.
Yes Cacao is a family business, sprouting a new person, and balancing growth or momentum. Just take a step back. How do you find that all works out?
Magically delicious. just to date myself. It's new. It's to be honest and also vulnerable with that. It's definitely shaken the ground of my priorities and where my focus is. Naturally, I feel early in the entrepreneurial journey. Speaking of kids, that's amazing. Early in the entrepreneurial journey, there's this need to to work hard and a lot, and you got adrenals different in your 20s than you do in your 30s and 40s. So there's this idea of like, I need to just work as much as possible, and more is better. And the more that I slow down, and actually when Orion was born about 5.5 months ago, the slowdown was not a conceptual thing that's happening in my mind. It was very much a real pace.
Right. Having never experienced it before, too.
It was an initiation.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is an initiation.
Yeah.
And that slowing down really is getting me to see where I want to put this valuable time that I have. A lot of times we see, sometimes near the end of life, or as we've lived a lot of years, the hindsight being 2020 is that there's slowing down is good in the way that it's allowing me to appreciate things. I rushed through life, something like that. I'm putting my quotation marks up. But also at the beginning of life, there's so many strides. The learning curve is so fast that slowing down to witness every step forward it's a time dilation. So that in the meta conversation, conceptual timing and how to look at time and slowing down and speeding up. Really, what that's looked like is my real desire to spend more time with my little boy and find ways to make less do more.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of tools, like I was telling you about Ari Lesser and Ari Meisel, who has the Less Doing podcast.
Yep.
And obviously Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week, all these strategies for using technology to assist us in doing more with less time by working smarter. And I don't know if there's just this core belief inside of me that I feel kind of lazy if I'm not working really hard. And I'm really doing my best to shake that.
I feel like it's a gene, or it's like some part of our DNA, and it's different from person to person. I don't want to interrupt you. I want you to finish your thought, but I'm just like, there's this nugget that like I feel like it's a weird time. I mean, we're new parents. I mean, my daughter's almost 4. I'd still feel like I'm new, meaning new in the sense of like I still don't know what I'm doing. But there's definitely like strides, longer strides, period of strides. But there's this interesting two-sided coin I experience with like almost any parent that I speak to about parenting and in the world of 2018, 2019. For the most part, I find that people are wanting to work smarter and not harder. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a good thing. And that probably speaks to, the 4-hour work week and automating some systems so that, again, you put in less hours, but the output is still there. And then you still have these old school people who are like, I'm going to work as hard as I can for as long as I can so that it's better in the future, right? So that I buy that house or that I make my kids' college fund now, but then I can hang out with them when they're like 15 or 18. All these hypotheticals. You realize like all of it's a hypothetical. And all that we're left with is just right now. just your 5-month-old son. And so, yeah, I say kudos, especially with someone who's, running a chocolate company. I don't even know the scope of what it means to be doing that, year over year for this long period of time. And then to introduce parenthood into the mix. It's like there's no rule book. There's no guideline.
Or if
there's no nothing.
Nobody has... I mean, I've definitely gotten both solicited and unsolicited advice. And maybe if I had written these tokens down, some of them would apply. But nothing's really real until it's real right here in my experience. Most of the learning is in the subconscious, I think.
Yeah.
Is in the witnessing. And when I slow down and witness life unfolding, especially through the eyes of a 5.5-month-old, that does a lot of the work there. Like there's an organizing principle at work there. And yeah, I would say that in general, my mind is usually feeling like I have way more stuff to do than I can handle.
That feels natural, yeah.
And also surrendering in that way. I think for a lot of people that know me, they think I have this very calm disposition where I'm like almost too relaxed, where it doesn't seem like I'm stressed out.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I think we share a cup of tea on that one. But I'm just really good at keeping it inside. I'm not trying to energetically put it on other people. It's my responsibility, what I'm experiencing. Sharing my stress likely isn't going to minimize it. Solving solutions sometimes helps, but a lot of times it's just surrendering to the pace of things. Like there's a timeline and then there's a timing. And the more that I grok and vibe into the timing, the less taxing it is on my psyche. And also the more rewarding it feels because there's more surprises in that perfect timing pace. And I feel like I have more availability for wherever I am to be in the present moment.
Right. It's nice to be in this kind of a stimulus-heavy environment and to like find yourself just taking a deep breath. And this expo is several days, correct? It's like 4 or 5 days?
It's 3 days. We're in the North Hall, which is small to medium companies. And this is like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The bigger hall, which is small, medium, and large companies, would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so it's nice to stagger it like that. So technically it's 3 days, but like while I'm here, I'm going to network, I'm going to walk around, I'm going to meet people even after we close our booth at the end of the day, which is in a few hours, after 3 days. There's a little bit of a victory and a finish line.
So this is the last day of your booth here?
Yeah, this is the last day of our booth here.
Yeah.
I've been really just enjoying, now that we're sitting at the back of the booth, just watching people. They're walking down the lane, their eyes are a little bit glazed over from everything looking a little bit the same, but they're looking for something, they're not sure what they're looking for, and then their eyes connect with the yes sign that we're sitting in front of, and then you see their eyes squint a little bit to read what is that going on, and then open a little wider, and maybe even smile, and then the curiosity brings them to the booth, and they want to, I want to try this. What is this?
Yeah, it's funny to notice how people are giving themselves permission to dive into their curiosity and to like inquire or taste or do the double take or the triple take.
I call people out on that. If I see someone do a double take, I say, excuse me, I invite you to follow that. Follow your subconscious and your intuition to what I'm feeling pulled to that. And we filter through. I think I think that there is something very much guided at shows like this. It's such a high concentration of humans with similar interests. And just like at Burning Man, it's a similar thing. Even at like car shows that I've been to where people are very passionate about one particular thing and everyone's gathered and in joy about one particular thing. When that happens, there's magic, there's synchronicity. Even just us talking about that, and two women who are the founders of Baby Gourmet just walk up to the booth, and I had a lovely conversation with them a couple days ago, and I said, come down to the booth, and just nice to speak synchronicity and then see something that I've been just waiting for something to happen, and it appears. So there's a nice magic in that.
How do you experience? It's funny to even think about jumping from topic to topic. You just kind of want, all you can think about is, or all you want to talk about is the experience of being here because it's so immersive. But as an immersive experience, and you said this is your 10th year participating in some form. I mean, this is your 4th year with a booth.
Mm-hmm. 4th year with a booth.
But 10th year coming.
10th year coming, either helping companies or just cruising around and being a buzzy bee.
How can you speak to an experience like this that is seemingly, I'm assuming it's a consistent experience year over year. It's the same infrastructure, it's the same grid, the same like jumble of we're just going to throw these thousands, hundreds of companies.
Between 3,000 and 4,000.
3,000 and 4,000 companies into a convention center and just let stew, between watching brands unfold or even watching you rebrand yourselves, which is really beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
It's looking at how your product has evolved over the last 9-10 years. I can look at your product right now and say that it speaks volumes by itself. It's basically telling a story. It looks like a book, and it's like inviting you to open this book and then to consume its knowledge.
We're so
it's so
interested.
Playful.
Yeah. I'm so interested in the consumer experience, and this is something that you have a lot of. You've spent a lot of time thinking about and manana, chewing on the human experience of consuming, be it music or idea, commerce, whatever it is, and this new chocolate packaging, it had to be ecologically responsible. It had to be intelligent in its design and cute and artistic, but also effective in its functional sharing of information. I can't be there for every single time someone picks up a bar on a shelf, but how do we sub me out? I mean, I joke about this, but I don't think it's that far out where I can walk up to a store and push a button next to a product and a hologram of the founder or hologram experience comes through and you can learn more about what's going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be that far off.
Having these virtual ambassadors, if you will.
Yeah, demos. It would just change the way that a demo is done.
Yeah.
Though you wouldn't get to taste it so much.
Yeah.
But maybe, since smell and taste are so intertwined, no, now we're having a whole virtual eating thing. We might as well be pronatarians. Yeah. Just back to marking growth and seeing progress through the face of the brand and our packaging. I'm so grateful. Like the design team that we worked on was really patient with how deeply intentional. It wasn't so like wham bam, here's off the shelf. We could just put these things together that have worked in the industry before and just throw it out there. We were so much more intentional about it. Thank you. And just in coming to this show year after year, it occurs to me that if you have something new to share, you kind of got to have something new to share
Yep.
at these shows, to give something that's kind of buzzworthy or story-worthy. Like, oh, we have a new flavor, or we have a new rebrand coming through. So every year it is a little bit different in that you get to see how you've grown.
Yeah. Right. The experience of interfacing with other companies and other brands gives you this means of it's like a way of reflecting on where you are and how far you've come, pretty much.
It's humbling, actually, in a lot of ways.
It's also humbling to hear that your experience of being here is marked by, like definitely elements of community, like befriending people and the people behind specific brands, and how you took me through a walkthrough here just a few minutes ago, and how you can sniff out when a brand is clean or not. That's amazing to me. I mean, that speaks to the years of experience you've had coming through here.
I definitely say that most of the 3,000 or 4,000 booths that are here, there might be 50 or 60 that I'm attracted to,
Sure.
or I would have a sample from.
Sure.
And to each consumer their own, and there's a certain cleanliness. There's a certain. I know it's possible to create in the industry, and
You just have to care about it.
yeah, it's easy to take shortcuts. There's a lot of opportunities to not use a top shelf ingredient, or it'd be easier if we just say natural flavors because that might protect us for 6 more months from someone copying us. Whatever the reasons are, I get very skeptical when someone puts natural flavors, and I want to know why don't you just tell me what that is, first of all. Second of all, look at that. We just got a whole kombucha shipment to the booth. Excellent. I'm giving permission for that gentleman to take a bar. Yes. He's been participating. It's great. You see people in the industries. Like I know Elric has helped make the chocolate bars in the kitchen before.
Yes.
So having people in nodes of different times, maybe that was 2.5 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
For him to come and see this, it's like, I feel connected to it,
Yeah.
and I've seen it grow. I want the people that have participated. You included Danny Katz, obviously, who I used to make the chocolate in her kitchen.
Yeah, all those years ago.
All those years ago. That I want all of this family and this community to know that there was a big hand in helping this grow. Like, this is our chocolate company. Even though, it's my chocolate company, it's like, feels better to me to say this is our collective project that's come through, because I'm often inspired and lifted by that. People are just dropping samples. Here, take things.
They're like donating things to an altar. They're just like giving gifts.
I like that way of saying it. That's good.
Yeah.
I know that on the last day of the show, there are people that are walking through with suitcases
of stuff,
just dragging samples.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing and a little gluttonous.
Yeah.
And also a little bit. There's an expectation too, like with a lot of companies,
that I'm going to go to this thing and walk away with a ton of sample.
There's an interesting line that's drawn right there, where at the end of the show, I'm not trying to dump all of our products that we brought with us. I'm like, I'm bringing this back home. I'm going to keep strategically using this valuable product that we've handmade and feel connected to. Not like, I'm going to put this in the big bin that people can just grab at the end of the show, and wherever it goes, or if it gets tossed, it gets tossed. This is part of our marketing budget. There's a lot of ways to do this show, and we just continue to show up really intentionally, and the food system just to zoom out, I think the food system and the way that the supply chain is built, it's a little bit broken. And what are the things that we can do on a day-to-day and when we show up to things, and just our choices with waste of the food and packaging, like what are the things that we can do to make changes in those little increments, so that over the course of time, like when my son is 18 or 20 years old, he doesn't have a real fucked up planet that it's on him to now fix, kind of thing. Like we have a certain, just actually to bring it back to the desire to spend more time with our children.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to imbue and impart consciousness, awareness, lessons to our children. I recently have been thinking, like, kids are like AI. They're learning everything that you do. Think, say, how you express your emotional intelligence. Yep. They're picking it up as their framework, and you can do a lot. You can do a lot for someone, for your children's life, by paying attention in the early years and being present in the early years. Because so what if you can do the practical thing for the first 15 years, so that when your kid is older you can hang out with them? But are you going to want to hang out with this kid that doesn't have the influence? I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but at least for the way that I think about it, I want to do everything that I can every day, even like being here at the show, and he's up in Santa Cruz right now. I'm aware that I'm missing some developmental days. He might be crawling when I get back.
In the first year, I mean, every few weeks, there's some crazy developmental leap, and yeah, that was interesting. And I was going to be another question I thought about asking you, how often, as a business owner in the natural products world, and you're also like the face of your brand, and you also do demos, and how often do you spend time away from your family?
I would say it kind of depends on the season a little bit. And I've only really had a couple seasons of being in a nuclear family. Generally, the chocolate season is October to April, and so for most of Orion's life, it's been chocolate season. And that said, I've been pretty present. I mean, I went for 4 days around New Year's to Aspen to surprise my buddy on his 40th birthday, which was a wild success. I love surprises. When you just jump out of a closet and someone's really not expecting you to be in a different state or something.
I feel like these days they're rare. Surprises are rare.
I invite listeners, dear listeners, look for opportunities to surprise, because there's a wake up in that surprise.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a few clusters of a few days. This is for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so 5 days. This is probably the longest that I've been away from him. And my wife, who, we stay in touch via Marco Polo and FaceTime, and we're talking on the phone. But that doesn't
substitute.
It doesn't substitute. So there's and I've talked to veteran dads, people who've been dads of dads, and when I was on my journey to becoming a father, I had a concern. I was like, I really want to make sure that I'm spending as much time as possible being present with my kiddo. And they were saying, I've gotten this message consistently, is just that you want to do that
is a big
thing. And that you will make it happen. You will design your life. The opportunities that come and would take you away from that, you're not going to entertain those in the same way. I'm really grateful to have a really beautiful relationship with my wife, where we're madly in love with each other, and then Orion is in that bubble. We want to hang out, like we're best friends, you know. And now Orion, I'm getting to design my best friend. You know, I think these are long-term relationships.
Yep.
So, being an active participant in this, like I get to take responsibility for this on a pretty real way. So
it's a huge, again, no one really tells you that it's such a big undertaking to like craft a human who's going to be living in the world and being a human, consuming ideas and resources and ways of communicating. And I think that really says a lot about, I guess to be kind of cliche about it for a second, but to be self-aware in this generation of our impact on the people that we're raising right now is pretty cool. It's actually this really cute baby here. I saw him waving and I was going to wave back at him, but he already looked away.
He was definitely signaling his mom to come to the booth.
Nor does he really want to, I think, be in this harness. That's actually my favorite harness.
The baby Bjorn
the baby
there?
Bjorn. It worked well for us.
For a forward-facing or both?
Both, yeah. That's the one thing I miss. So I would, again, here's another cliche thing from one dad to another, is enjoy the baby carriers and just having him up against you, because that it doesn't like disappear, it just completely changes as he starts walking and talking and wanting to watch movies, and it's again, the experience just changes over time so much.
I was thinking about that, and that I had told Orion, I like talking to him like he's a human.
Totally.
I also go into celestial tongue with him and just go into like
it's a fine balance.
We're channeling some languages that I don't know how to put into words to communicate to him.
Yeah.
And he gets it. He feels it. He groks it. And what was I? I was telling him something along the line of thanks for for growing at the pace that you're growing, because as I'm hoisting you into the air and picking you up and kind of using you as a living weight, a weight system, like you're my little gym. You were 7 pounds, and then you became 8, 9, 10. Now you're 16 pounds. And I'm like, if I can just keep on lifting you and holding you until you're about 13 or 14 years old, I will be a ripped dad. I will be in really good shape. Just tossing my 14-year-old in the air. Mm-hmm. There'll be more wrestling around, I think. So it's interesting because I don't quite know if how soft he feels, like a soft kiddo.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would like to imbue a sense of grit. I was talking to Danny about this yesterday, actually. Just the importance of having sensitivity as far as your awareness is able to perceive things. Your senses are tuned in, but not, but still having that grit of being able to take a certain level of the human experience as not being easy, and that's okay, or not being comfortable, and that's part of it. Don't avoid the uncomfortable.
Right. Which, I mean, we can speak for hours about how suddenly when you look at every play, and you'll learn this as, he starts walking and running around, but every playground that exists now that's being built now is a soft, padded, there's no wood, there's no metal in playgrounds anymore like we grew up. There's no sand, wood, and metal. It's all bouncy, like shock absorbing floor.
They're training
plastic.
him for the moon, I swear.
Maybe. or this speaks to, the whole grit thing. Like, I totally feel into, especially with Cora, our kid, who's a total three-nager. He's like 3 going on like 14 right now. And she's like totally taking over all of the playgrounds that are deemed for older kids. That's another thing I didn't notice when we grew up. Suddenly when you go to playgrounds now, there's like, here's the little kiddie area, and then here's like here's the structures for 5 to 12-year-olds. Like, they're deeming this is safe and appropriate for this age group, and this is for the other age group, which I never know. Again, you don't notice these things until.
I mean, even a playground as a concept, I feel like used to be like a
just
tree.
One, yeah,
like
exactly.
A tree with a rope swing, maybe,
tree,
or
that's another thing. Rope is gone, or it's only within a really specific structure. Like maybe there's rope in a climbing structure. I don't know. It's at this point it's funny to think about just discussing the perfection versus imperfection of playgrounds. I just have viewpoints on them, but yeah, again, like, kudos to you to not choose the exhausting path of helicopter parenting, because I've seen my fair share of helicopter parents who are terrified of their kids being bruised, cut, falling, and then
forget what we've experienced.
Exactly. Yeah. Or if just because maybe they grew up experiencing that doesn't mean they should deprive anyone else of that, because it's only natural.
Yeah, it's natural for parents to want their children to not suffer, not have a hard time. And taking that to the extreme is actually harming the children more. I mean, I think playgrounds are where you learn consequences. I have very specific memories of like hanging on monkey bars and falling and hitting my head and getting a big bump.
Yeah, a goose. What is it?
A goose egg.
A goose egg. Yeah.
And then knowing to be a little bit more mindful next time, or just knowing how to set boundaries for myself, and knowing that consequence is not a bad thing. It's consequence. It's with pattern. So trying to figure out this 3-dimensional world coming from basically like a 5-dimensional world, and then kind of orienting our physicality, we gotta step across lines, push against things, and if everything's padded prior to our experience, then what kind of boundaries and what kind of human beings are we raising to take the torch?
Yeah.
Or like, don't touch the torch. It's actually just it's an LED light with a flicker paper.
Right.
Don't touch fire, even though we may come to a time in the next generation where they need to remember how to build a fire.
Yeah.
Depending on how we use our energy. I'm optimistic about the future, and I think when you have a child, there's a vote. It's like, I'm voting that the future is going to be better. It's going to be better.
Yeah, I share that sentiment. I reframe it in a way that I think that the way I say it is, when I became a dad, I had to become a professional optimist.
Mm-hmm.
Which also is kind of alluding to, like, not that I was necessarily a negative person or a cynical person before becoming a dad, but I was definitely like, I had my sort of sprinkle of, like, I don't know, maybe nihilism in there, and like, well, the earth is this, or systems are fucked, or capitalism is, all these even those sound cliche at this point, on this side of parenthood. But yeah, becoming a parent is definitely signing up for, is voting for optimism.
So they can vote for yes.
Vote for yes. Exactly.
I see that. And I actually, Marianne Williamson was giving a talk at, I think it was Symbiosis, at least a handful of years ago.
Uh-huh.
and she had said to the audience, all of you out there who are of the age of having children and who have had children, young children, stop trying to fix the world outside and just focus on raising great kids. And you baby boomers and you who have already raised kids, get on the fucking program, basically, and you guys solve the problems that you basically have contributed to.
Yeah.
And it's doing the same thing that we have been doing and expecting a different result is obviously sounds like lunacy when you're saying that, and yet most of us do that pattern over and over. We live into that because there's a certain desire for security, and leaping into the unknown is though wildly enlivening, seemingly far away when you're about to jump. And I want to jump more.
Yeah.
And rub my, polish my evolutionary genie's lamp. And just keep polishing it, keep on pushing myself to be present for that pattern shift. I mean, the first step, I think, is being aware of what's going on that's not working.
Yeah.
And then the second step is being available for a solution without trying to jump to it, and being having a male body and feeling aligned with the masculine. I'm more on the masculine side of the spectrum between the masculine and feminine dynamic. I'm not going to go into the shadow of the masculine in this conversation, at least. But in the light side and in the part of the masculine that we do want to celebrate, there's a solution finding that is inherent in the masculine, but there's a timing element that really makes us not stubborn, or it takes the force out of it and really allows power to arrive. Am I making sense with what I'm saying? It feels a little bit etheric.
It's etheric, but I get it.
What about you, listener? Hello, ear. Hello, the ears that are listening. Are you guys grokking that? What I'm wanting to impart is that I see an opportunity for a solution. It may not be the right timing to just dump it out of my head. I want to kind of check into the consequences, the rings of that solution before I just try and do it to fix it so I don't have to feel something that's not comfortable, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Which, I think at its root is just self-awareness. And
I love this. I love this because, for having known each other, we met on Cinco de Mayo in 2009.
So 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hallelujah. What a great Cinco de Mayo party. That was the roots. That was the beginning of a lot of beautiful friendships and community. And this is a normal conversation for you and I. I mean, we weren't dads before.
Yeah.
And even your daughter's 8 times as old as my son at the moment. Or something like that.
Makes her sound so old.
We've been doing this exploration of reality and evolution and how to better ourselves, and really just trying to grok the human experience. And I love that this platform is becoming a home for you to do that. And I'm really glad that you came here to Expo West. I'm glad that I suggested that, hey, let's do a podcast on scene.
Yeah. I forgot to even tape it. I could have put my phone up. Great.
It's a lot of,
It's a lot.
that part actually, I mean, we need another outlet.
Yeah.
We're getting better. We're evolving. Baby steps. We're going to celebrate the live podcast.
Exactly.
We're going to celebrate that we were able to come together, make something happen. And, part of me and my yes journey is when I identify someone that I love doing their yes, sharing and expressing themselves at the cusp of their comfort, but also very naturally in what they're here to do, that I support that yes. I'm a cheerleader. That's the kind of leader that I feel aligned with being as a cheerleader, in that go do that thing. Go be and follow your yes. And listening to your previous podcasts and then being here now,
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, this is good, Adam. More of this. And we're only going to get better at it.
It gets better and better. Well, this is the first time doing it in this kind of environment. So it's, yeah, I mean, like even sitting and drinking tea for 10 years and practicing that practice, coming to a place where I always want to feel like it's the first time I'm doing that, whether it's different gear, the mood that I'm in, the day that we're experiencing, the weather, all those things. I want to take a similar approach to this experience, because there will be no stop and go, like the same experience every time I do it. It will be different every time. And that's, it's funny, like, to avoid perfection, consciously avoid perfection in that manner, the whole kind of Zen mind, beginner's mind, which again, I feel like that in and of itself is an hours-long conversation.
This is the wabi-sabi is a podcast's long conversation.
It's a podcast long conversation, exactly.
Several volumes.
Yeah, it feels like with the reflection that we've done in this last hour, it's a good moment to kind of jump back. I don't know. Is it a good moment to dive back out? Or do you feel? I feel like I can go into other topics, but I also feel content in the here and now.
I'm gonna push us to just talk about wabi-sabi for a second.
Let's do it.
And also, I'm just looking at the booth, and there's 25 people in front of the booth right now, and it just seems like a lot to jump into.
Yeah.
From this peaceful space on couch at the back of the booth here. Oh, great. All kinds of people that I'm wanting to come here. I'm grateful for Justin and Danny holding it down here. Wabi-sabi and that art and practice of avoiding perfect.
Yeah.
There is inherent in the entrepreneur's journey. Being in the entrepreneurial journey, it just seems like a more sane thing to do is to embrace wabi-sabi and know that there's no finish point that I'm striving to or trying to get to some place where it's like over. I don't, in that way, I feel very much aligned with the wabi-sabi. I feel very much aligned with at least my perception of there's no beginning or end to the journey so much, at least in any way that I can put my finger on from where I am right here now.
Right.
And so in that way, it's perfectly imperfect right now. And I'm cool with that. And then the entrepreneur voice in me is like, but you gotta grow, you gotta do better, you gotta push yourself. I want tomorrow to be a better imperfectly perfect than today.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't, it's funny to talk about the notion of wabi-sabi, which, and the way we're talking about it, it's not a purely aesthetic thing. It's more of a perspective or a worldview, or even like a lifestyle, if you will. I mean, the way that we practice tea is, I don't go for the same result every time. I'm not going for 20 steepings. I'm not going for a goal of sitting for 90 minutes or, I'm not even using a scale to weigh, 3 grams of this kind of tea in 130 milliliter Gaiwan. To me, there's a danger in
Dogma.
I don't know, dogma, I guess, is probably the best way of saying that. I was going to say the science, because science is like analytical. It's taking in data points and measuring so specifically. And not even that I feel spiritual about it, but I want to not, I don't want to aim. This isn't archery. Tea is not archery for me. Even the notion of, how I imagine, I don't run a chocolate company like you do, but I would imagine that, you are going to have sort of a bow and arrow or archery mentality to running and growing your business year over year. And then there's this, the notion of wabi-sabi being just, as you say, like today is perfectly imperfect, or this experience at this expo will be perfectly imperfect, and if you wanted to compare it to last year versus this year, you could do that or not. It's, for me right now, I love looking at just how so many different kinds of people in this place together. That's what I appreciate. And I very much, I never know what I wanted to call this show. Even if I don't even think of it as a show. I'm not even really presenting something for people, like specific for people to consume. I just want to feel like people are maybe present in the conversation, like I like this whole sort of unscripted, unedited, free-form, stream of conscious, inspired or uninspired conversation that I get from specific podcasts that I enjoy, like, the Joe Rogans and stuff like that. But because I was thinking about this for probably well over a year, not knowing, well, what am I going to call it? Because what am I going to talk about? Because I actually want to talk about everything. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about all topics. But then I thought, well, I can have one touch point for all topics, and that touch point is what we understand to be wabi-sabi.
The concept of the incompleteness of things.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how this podcast evolves, and from what you set out to do, and you were intentional about how you started this. And I think in respect to and adhering to wabi-sabi as your guide, and also just listening to your intuition about where it goes, I'm excited to hear. There may be several episodes that are super focused on tea or dadding, as a verb, to dad. I'm excited to have more conversations with you about that, and also just knowing dads of several ages who are doing it really good, who are just doing an awesome job, and just being in that conversation with them. And even from the outside, sometimes it looks idyllic and perfect, and then you get into the conversation and it's like, oh good, it is a wabi-sabi, and then you're not alone in that. And the first night of Expo, I went to a dinner that was put on by Gerber Financial, and they've supported a lot of the larger companies, a lot of familiar companies that people have seen and see and participate in and consume. And we had gone around the room and talked about the challenges of growing and the kind of the story, the mistakes, the ways that we have gotten to where we are, kind of a thing. And you just don't hear those stories. You don't hear this is when I fell on my face.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so helpful. It's so helpful to hear that, and even just speaking that and wanting to share about just to share about struggles that happen in building this. I mean, just the time that it has taken from concept of chocolate as a delivery system, and struggles with coming up with money to do things and having ideas, and maybe not having the support or the team of people around to execute it in the way that I wanted to. Learning that lesson, printing packaging that has the wrong thing on it, a whole host of things that happen. It's a very in-your-face wabi-sabi. It's a very in-your-face, this is where we missed the mark, and this is an exercise in hearing that, not reacting to it, but responding to it so that we don't have the same experience again and again. I wonder in deeper levels of wabi-sabi if there is I wonder if in deeper elements of wabi-sabi, if there is is wabi-sabi at the cusp of perfect and imperfect, or can it just be in the belly of imperfect? It's like if you have the same experience ovary and ovary, if you have the same experience and we don't learn our lesson and evolve in that, is that still the imperfection of wabi-sabi? I'm hoping that whoever, hello you who is listening to this, I'm hoping that you're cruising along in your day or evening, and maybe we're accompanying you on a late night art project, or driving across town, or maybe we're drinking tea together. I hope that you're talking with us as you're listening with us and making your comments. I wish in podcasting there was a way to to comment differently than just leaving reviews.
Well, if we were doing like a live broadcast, maybe through like an Instagram live simultaneously, there could be
more Q&A.
More Q&A stuff. So that's something to think about.
More interactive.
More interaction, exactly.
We vibe. We feed on this.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to stretch deeper in, or do you have any?
I think it's a good question to pose. I mean, my first answer is I think it's all those things, because as someone who's I know and feel wabi-sabi as well as I do, which I can't objectively speak to knowing it as well as other people could. I think it's such a subjective thing. Maybe the aesthetics are more objectively quantifiable, but I don't think it's so much the edge. It's more about being in the belly. I feel like even right now, at the age of 35, being a 35-year-old human man in the world, I think that's a pretty wabi-sabi experience of the world and systems and parenthood and relationships and capitalism and careers and all these things.
It's an amazing time to be an alive parent.
Yeah. And yeah, I totally want to, focus on dadding more in the future.
The face that you watch both children and adults when they try something new, and just the curiosity. There's a lot of that going on in this show. There's a pina paradise. It's like a pina colada kombucha that's being sampled at the moment. Whoa or wow?
It's a whoa.
Uh-huh.
Oh, not wow.
3% alcohol also. Oh, this is like a pineapple situation.
Yeah.
Not for me.
It's like, I feel like it's...
There's a teddygram in there, though. Like a cinnamon teddygram.
Like oak barrel teddygram.
I like the
Yeah.
it's like sampling so many different things and also saying no to a lot of samples.
Yeah. I think it's healthy.
Healthy. The first couple of years I came here, just
Kind of just
learning
take
how to
everything.
learning what happens when you take everything, and then trying to not take everything, and then maybe the third year was like, I'm only gonna ask for things. I'm not gonna just take.
I'm not just going to take samples.
Yeah, can I have this kind of thing? And they might say no, and that's cool, as long as they're really aligned with that no, and it's coming from a strong and definitive space. When people say, "Hey, can I take this box? We have a new rebrand out for display, and there's only a few. These are just prototypes, and a lot of them have been swiped. When people ask, "Can I take this?" we go, "No, but we can give you another sample." It's funny that some people are just really stunned that they're not allowed to take something. Like there's a you have a booth here, you owe me things kind of vibe from some people, and from other people there's a gratitude.
Sure.
So there's some beauty in that diversity of human that's coming to the plate, and we're in the center of the booth here. We're in the center of this booth. We're being looked at like there's this hey, can I talk to you? Can I not? I mean, we have these giant microphones in front of our faces.
Well, with the pop filters too.
The pop filter. So there's definitely something, that when you're
like
wearing headphones.
It's like a boundary, yeah.
It's like when you're wearing headphones somewhere and someone like doesn't know if they should interrupt you.
Yeah.
Which I realize when I wear ear pods, like those
Yeah.
Bluetooth really small ones.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't know.
People don't know that, yeah.
And then I get the interrupting barrier doesn't work as well as the honking over the ear headphones. I think I need to go back to that.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah, big headphones do feel good.
I have small ears.
Yeah.
They hear big. They're good listening ears, but they're very small.
Yeah.
So when they're held in the big cushion of a headphone, it's very satisfying.
Yeah. I just got my first pang of hunger.
Crazy
since breakfast.
You're in the middle of
like
so much
3,000 food samples. Yeah.
But it's snack.
It's snack
food,
oriented,
That's what we bring. I have in my bag, and I'm pretty sure I have a giant bag of spinach. Having a fresh green thing that you could just chew on, it's pretty valuable. I could probably sell spinach leaves, just individual leaves down the hall here.
Yeah.
What do you got a specific hungry for? Because I could probably point you in a direction. There's some tacos over there. There's an Impossible Burger over there. There's
I don't know if I'm feeling impossible, though I do love where they are placed there. As I observed, the Impossible Burger is placed in this quadrant of like meat suppliers,
jerky
and things. And seeing the queue for Impossible Burger was just like, wow. I think the organizers of this event, whoever the hell put them there, is.
I think they put themselves there.
They put themselves there.
Because when you're selecting your booth, you can kind of see who else is around. You can.
Oh.
There's a prioritized.
I thought the other side. I thought they were just placed. I thought they were placed there poetically by the organizers of this event. So that.
Maybe by the organizers of the event,
exactly.
The big meta event that is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so many options when you get to the table. Until I think if you've been presenting and if you've purchased a lot of advertising and opportunities for marketing, here you can accrue points and then have more priority.
Right. Based on placement and stuff.
Of course, if you don't go for a year, if you abandon your priority 1 year, you lose all of your points.
Yeah.
But what is this point system really? What am I at summer camp? Do I get like Starburst at the end of the week or something? I can cash in my Golden Eagle points for some stickers.
Right.
Maybe more attention, more eyeballs.
That's what it is, though. It's really just validation. It's the point system at this point. Or at least maybe in this kind of a place.
You know, in our previous packaging, people really had to ask, what is this? It's beautiful. What is this? Now I see people really spending some time reading it and taking it and kind of seeing if they can figure it out on their own first before they ask, which is this is a nice nod. Nice nod in the positive direction. It's really, it's about an hour and a half from the end of the show. They do a whole bell that goes off, and then everyone claps, and it's this whole thing, and then there's the breakdown and everything. And I kind of miss it. You know, you get down to the end of it, and you're like, wow, that was fast. I've been preparing for this show for months, and then at the end of the show, it's like, wow, that was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have my whole notepad with all these contacts and a whole bin of business cards that I can follow up on. And the value of the show is very much in the follow-up.
Sure.
You know, so when people ask, how's the show going? It's like, I think it's going good.
Yeah. I mean, it exists as a temporary village where all these people, you know, cohabitate, and then you're dispersed back into the larger world. And then you follow it. So it's not unlike any other festival, really. It's like Burning Man, or just focused on the bottom line is commerce.
Yeah, this is definitely in a commerce model.
Yeah.
And you know, for a lot of people, this is the gathering space. You really only see some people once a year. So there is that there's kind of an excitement and a buzz, and you might talk to someone on the phone or on one of the video chat scenarios, but seeing someone in person or walking a few aisles with someone that you really only see once a year is a pretty special thing, and hopefully you have enough energy to really be present for it and up for it.
Yep.
But if you don't have energy, you can always walk down to booth number 347 for some mushroom coffee, or go get some really amazing kombucha down at booth 842. And, you know, there's a lot of modulating of your energy that can happen here, and we try and be one of those. We are one of those booths, very much so, where people can come and enjoy some functional chocolate and feel a little kick in their step, or just chill out a little bit or something. The wandering eyes of curiosity that are passing by. What is this? What am I looking for again? Why am I walking down? Have I eaten? I should drink some water. What's water? That's goodness. It's not normal or often observed in podcasting for having periods of silence.
Yeah.
I can feel my discomfort with that. Like, oh no, what if the audience is not being entertained? They're just listening to
this
buzz.
soundtrack. It's almost like a soundtrack of the background noise.
I can hear in our monitors that there's a buzz of conversation.
Yeah, really grateful to be here and to have the time with you and to witness the rebranding of Yes Cacao and to see how it stands, you know, like with and next to all these other brands. I think it's, for me, given me a really interesting perspective. And to get to enjoy, talking about being parents is a rarity for me. It's something I am now, in realizing we've spoken about it, I'm craving it a lot more. So I look forward to the next
Dad drop in. Maybe
even up in the forest, up in Santa Cruz, something like that.
Come on up, the redwoods are waiting.
I feel like I love the randomness of the like you're next door to like chicken nuggets. You're across the way from drinking vinegar,
chai diaries,
and chai, and it's just it seems love like random in a loving way. It's not. I thought like I guess I had assumed that like all the chocolate companies would be in like one hall or these rows, and it's like no, maybe that would be overwhelming. If we're just like if we're going from all these chocolate companies.
Yeah, I like the staggered beverage, jerky, some funny powder, French macaroons, donuts, Thai food, Korean barbecue. It's like a very it's staggered so that we can find the things that we need in the moment, just by being inspired by our senses. I'm glad that you can come and see this. And somehow magically we had one pass, and I was like, this is Adam's pass. There's one pass left. I think this is Adam's pass. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a conversation, and it's just coincidentally going to be recorded and shared. And we're exploring that. We're exploring what it's like to be in a conversation that has a feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this being unattached to format.
Yeah.
In podcasting, this is a lot more accurate to when we're sitting down and drinking tea or just talking. There are periods of silence where there's dialogue happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not audible.
Exactly. Yeah, and I appreciate you being skilled in that too. Silence is uncomfortable for many people, or the pace. The cadence to a conversation could be jarring for some people. So, I choose. This is episode number 4, or this is recorded conversation number 4. So I'm being cognizant of that, and I just like the whole feeling of feeling like I'm starting something, but there is like the profound level of comfort in it, as though I have a lot of experience with it. So
you've been talking for a while and listening for a while.
Yeah.
About 30.
Now I'm just doing it with gear.
Years.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're doing with gear in a very public place.
Yeah.
In the center of a commerce, giant incubator of networking, and it's a lot of different types of humans here in this room. I'm really glad I'm sitting next to you. I'm very grateful.
Amen.
Some of the marketing is hysterical.
Yeah.
Like this guy walking by with a giant bag that suck, and it's for mints. It's like, oh, that's good. I like that.
Whatever grabs it's a lot of competition for grabbing eyes in an environment like this.
That's how we use our practice safe chocolate little condom coins.
The condom coins.
Looks like a condom, tastes like chocolate. Good, Justin Feldman's working really hard here. So is Danny Katz. These guys are my champions.
Yeah, I want to give him a break.
Yeah, we'll launch in. We'll let them do some bites. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Justin.
I look forward to next time.
Congrats on finishing in your 4th year as a booth.
Congrats on finishing your 4th podcast episode.
Thank you.
And may the wabi-sabi force be with you.
And so it is.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you again for checking it out. Hope you enjoyed. Hope the background sound wasn't too much to handle. Once again, check out the Patreon page. That's patreon.com, patreon.com/wabi-sabi podcast. That's WABISABIPODCAST. Thanks.